This new software makes your position redundant. My boss explained while terminating me after 14 years as regional operations manager. That's how I was fired. It started with an email that hit my inbox at 9:17 a.m. Jasper, please meet me in conference room B at 10 o'clock. Regards, Rowan Walsh. 14 years at Summit Line Logistics, and I'd never gotten a meeting request that sterile. Not even when the I-5 closure nearly bankrupted us in 19. My gut twisted, but I clicked accept anyway. I took the long way to the conference room, past the dispatch floor where Mira was already barking into her headset. She shot me a look. You good? But I just shook my head. Not yet. Rowan Walsh, Chief Operations Officer, stood by the window when I walked in. Sunlight cut across his tailored suit, glinting off the silver frames of his glasses. He didn't turn around. Close the door, Jasper. I did. The latch clicked like a trigger. This new software makes your position redundant. His words hung in the air, blunt as a hammer. I stayed still, hands folded on the table. My name is Jasper Cooper, 44 years old. I had given 14 dedicated years to the company. Promotions. Late nights rerouting trucks around wildfires. The time I drove to the port of Seattle myself to unstick a customs holdup. None of it mattered now. Rowan finally turned, sliding a folder across the table. The AI optimization is supposed to be 25% more efficient than human management. That system goes live next month. It's projected to save $350,000 annually. He paused. Your salary and benefits comprise a significant portion of that. I opened the folder. Termination letter. 3 weeks severance per year served. A fair number, if you ignored the decade and a half of institutional knowledge they were tossing out with it. You'll train Ryan during your notice period, Rowan said. He starts Monday. Ryan, the kid from Stanford who'd been shadowing me for 2 weeks. 24 years old, crisp dress shirts, kept calling our drivers the labor force like they were factory robots. His role? I asked. Rowan adjusted his cuffs. Oversight. The software makes decisions, he executes. Pressing buttons when the AI tells him to. I nodded like it made sense. Like I hadn't built this department from 6 trucks and a prayer. Understood. My office was smaller than I remembered. Just a cube with a window, really. I boxed up the photos first. Aliona and the kids at Disneyland. Last year's company fishing trip. Then the notebook. Leather-bound, pages dog-eared. 14 years of scribbled secrets. Pacific Fresh. Deliveries must arrive by 5 a.m. or they reject the load. Apex Manufacturing. Double-check container seals, or they charge us $500 per minute late fees. Golden Grain. Never schedule Friday PM deliveries. Dock manager leaves at 3 sharp. I tucked it into my bag. No one stopped me. Mira caught me at the elevator. Her grip on my forearm was vice-tight. Tell me this is a joke. Wish I could. That system's gonna crash and burn, she hissed. What happens when Pacific Fresh's reefers fail mid-route? Or when Apex? It'll figure it out, I said. 25% more efficient, remember? She rolled her eyes so hard I heard it. Bullshit. That thing doesn't know Benson at the port takes lunch at exactly 12:30. Doesn't know Apex's CEO will cancel a contract over 1 late shipment. The elevator dinged. I stepped in. Guess it'll learn. The boardroom glass was frosted, but not enough to hide Rowan's presentation inside. Pie charts. Growth projections. A slide titled Labor Cost Reduction Strategies with my name in red. I adjusted the box in my arms. Aliona would be waiting. The kids would ask why I was home early. I didn't slam the door on my way out. But as I drove away, one thought looped in my head. They have no idea what they just lost. Aliona knew before I said a word. She stood in the doorway, one hand still clutching her car keys, the other pressed to her mouth. The kids were at school. The house was silent. My box of office belongings sat between us on the kitchen table like an uninvited guest. They fired you, she said. Laid off. I corrected automatically, as if the semantics mattered. Position was eliminated. She exhaled sharply through her nose. That disappointed half-laugh she reserved for bad jokes and worse decisions. After 14 years? I pulled out the severance paperwork, the numbers suddenly feeling inadequate. 3 weeks for every year. We'll be okay for. I'm not worried about the money, she cut in. Her fingers tapped a nervous rhythm against the table. I'm worried about you. I stared at the box. My Summit line mug peeked out from under a stack of files. A cheap corporate freebie from 5 years ago, the logo already fading. I need a drink, I muttered. By the third whiskey, the numbness started to set in. Aliona had retreated to her home office, giving me space to process. Smart woman. She knew I wouldn't break down, wouldn't rage. That wasn't me. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up Summit's shipment tracking portal. Old habits die hard. The system still recognized my credentials, an oversight they'd probably fix by morning. I scanned the day's deliveries. Pacific Fresh number 1142, delayed 47 minutes, traffic congestion on I-5. Apex Manufacturing number 5591, container seal discrepancy noted. Golden Grain number 3328, delivery refused, arrived 3:17 p.m. I snorted. The AI had already broken 3 of my cardinal rules on its first day unsupervised. My phone buzzed. A text from Mira. You seeing this shit? System just routed 3 trucks to the same loading bay. Apex is pissed. I didn't reply, but I started a new spreadsheet. Summit Logistics Failures, Day 1. 2 weeks passed in a haze of job applications and covert monitoring. The spreadsheet grew. Day 3. Pacific Fresh reports temperature variance in 12% of shipments, versus 2% average under my management. Day 7. Golden Grain threatens contract termination over repeated late deliveries. Day 11. Apex levies $28,750 in penalty fees for seal violations. Aliona caught me updating it one night. What are you doing? Keeping score, I said. She peered over my shoulder. This isn't healthy. Neither is replacing people with half-baked algorithms. She sighed but didn't argue. Aliona had worked in tech long enough to know the limitations of AI. Just promise me you're not doing this for revenge. I minimized the spreadsheet. I'm doing it for the truth. If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video. The call came on day 18. Jasper Cooper? An unfamiliar male voice. Speaking. Jamie Caden. I'm the VP of Operations at Coastal Cargo. A pause. I heard about your situation at Summit. I stiffened. And, let's just say we've noticed some interesting patterns in their delivery metrics lately. Another pause, more deliberate this time. I'd love to buy you coffee. I glanced at my spreadsheet. At the blinking cursor next to day 18. Pacific Fresh files formal complaint. Name the place, I said. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and maple syrup. I sat in the back booth, my laptop open to a spreadsheet that told a story of corporate hubris in cold, hard numbers. The bell above the door jingled, and a man in a navy peacoat scanned the room. Jamie Caden looked exactly like his LinkedIn photo, salt and pepper hair, crow's feet from too many years squinting at supply chain reports. He slid into the booth across from me and nodded at my screen. That the autopsy report? I turned the laptop slightly so he could see. Summit's last 22 days. Pacific Fresh is about to bolt. Apex is already shopping competitors. Jamie whistled low. And they thought firing you would make things more efficient. The waitress came. He ordered black coffee. I got another refill, my third. The caffeine jitter in my hands wasn't just from the coffee. You didn't call me here to gloat, I said. Jamie leaned forward, elbows on the sticky formica. Coastal's expanding. We need someone who understands that logistics isn't just about the shortest distance between 2 points. He tapped my screen. You clearly do. The offer came wrapped in corporate speak. Consulting gig at first, potential for permanent role. More money than Summit ever paid me. The catch? I'd be poaching my old clients. Jamie stirred his coffee. We're not asking you to break any non-competes. Just, if those clients happen to call you. And true to his words, I didn't even need to poach. The clients started reaching out, because deliveries failures equal leaking bottom lines. A text buzzed my phone. Mirror again. Apex just cancelled. Whole account. Rowan's having a meltdown in the break room. I looked up. Jamie was watching me, a knowing smile playing at his lips. Funny thing about algorithms, he said. They can calculate routes. They can't calculate trust. I closed my laptop. When do I start? The call came at 6:17 a.m. I knew before I picked up. Only one person would call this early. Jasper. Rowan's voice was sandpaper rough. We need to talk. I sat up in bed, careful not to wake Aliona. Through the window, the first grey light of dawn crept over the neighborhood. For weeks since my termination, 23 days since I'd started consulting for Coastal. Office hours start at 9, I said. A sharp exhale. Don't be petty. This is serious. I walked to the kitchen, phone pressed to my ear. The spreadsheet was still open on my laptop from last night. Coastal's newest client acquisitions glowing in bold green. Let me guess, I said, filling the coffee maker. Apex walked. Pacific Fresh is threatening to follow. And Golden Grain shipments are piling up at the docks because the system keeps routing them through the 3 p.m. Friday traffic. Silence. Then quieter. How much do you want? The question hung between us. I watched the coffee drip into the pot, black and steaming. It's not about money, Rowan. Bullshit. Everything's about money. That's why we made the change in the first place. I leaned against the counter. Through the kitchen window, the sun caught the edge of my new business card on the windowsill. Jasper Cooper, logistics consultant, Coastal Cargo. You replaced relationships with algorithms, I said. That's not logistics. That's data entry. Another silence. When he spoke again, his voice had that boardroom calm I knew meant he was furious. Owen authorized a consulting fee. $5,000 a week to help us adjust the parameters. I laughed. The coffee maker gurgled its last. You want me to program 14 years of institutional knowledge into your software? In 2 weeks. It's a generous offer. It's an insult. I poured the coffee, watching the steam rise. Those clients didn't leave because of parameters. They left because your system can't look a dock foreman in the eye and know he's lying about having space. It can't smell when a reefer unit is about to fail. It doesn't. Enough. Rowan's composure cracked. We know you're working with Coastal. We know you're talking to our clients. I took a slow sip. Funny. Jamie Caden says the same thing about you. The line went dead. At Coastal Cargo headquarters, 11:03 a.m. Jamie tossed a folder onto my new desk. Apex just signed. Full contract. I flipped it open. The numbers were better than we'd projected. Much better. Pacific Fresh is next, Jamie said, perching on the edge of my desk. Their VP called me directly. Said they'd move their entire West Coast business if we could guarantee you'd personally oversee the account. I leaned back in my chair. A real leather one, not the fabric piece of crap I'd had at Summit. Through the glass walls of my office, I could see the operations floor humming below. Real people. Real experience. Tell them yes. Jamie grinned. Already did. He nodded toward the folder. There's more. I turned the page. A termination notice from Summit to Rowan Walsh. Effective immediately. Owen's cleaning house, Jamie said. Word is they're prepping Chapter 11. I closed the folder. No satisfaction in it. Just the quiet certainty of a prediction come true. Should we send flowers? Jamie joked. I pulled up the shipment tracker. Let's focus on keeping our new clients happy. At Terry's Diner, 6:47 p.m. Mira slid into the booth, still wearing her Summit lanyard. She looked exhausted. They fired half of dispatch today, she said. Accepting the coffee, I pushed toward her. The system flagged us as redundant. I stirred my own coffee, watching the cream swirl. Coastal's hiring. She eyed me over the rim of her mug. That an offer? An observation. A smile cracked through her weariness. You always were shit at pep talks. The smile faded. They're blaming everything on Rowan now, saying he misled them about the software's capabilities. I thought of Rowan's call that morning. The desperation beneath the anger. He didn't build the system. Just sold it. Mira snorted. Like you'd ever let that slide if it wasn't personal. The truth of it stung. I changed the subject. You start Monday. Ask for Marcy in HR. Myra's eyes widened. I didn't say yes yet. You will. I signaled for the check. They've got you training the AI, don't they? Feeding it corrections. Her silence was answer enough. Coastal still uses people to check the system's work, I said. Imagine that. At the Coastal Cargo loading dock, 11:12 p.m. The night shift was running smooth, 3 trucks loaded, 2 more rolling in. I stood by Bay 4, watching a driver named Ruiz manually override the system's suggested route. Highways jammed up near Tacoma, he explained when he saw me watching. I know a back way. I nodded approval. GPS disagree? like a stubborn mule. He grinned. But what does it know? It's never driven in rain before. My phone buzzed. Aliona, kid's asleep. You coming home soon? I typed back soon. Just one more thing. At my office, I opened the bottom desk drawer. The leather notebook sat where I'd left it, filled with 14 years of hard-won knowledge. Pacific Fresh's quirks, Apex's demands, Golden Grain's unspoken rules. I flipped to a blank page and began writing. At Coastal Cargo, Day 1. Ruiz, Tacoma alternate route, rain conditions. The human algorithm, updated in real time. The bankruptcy notice hit the industry wires at 8:03 a.m. on a Tuesday. I stood in my kitchen, watching the news ticker scroll across the TV screen while Aliona scrambled eggs. The reporter's voice was professionally somber as she detailed Summit Line Logistics Chapter 11 filing. Assets to be liquidated, remaining workforce laid off, all operations ceasing immediately. Aliona turned off the burner. You okay? I sipped my coffee. The mug was new, Coastal Cargo blue, a gift from Jamie after we'd landed the Pacific Fresh account. Yeah, I said, just thinking about the drivers. She knew better than to press further. 14 years didn't vanish overnight, no matter how clean the severance check. My phone lit up with a text from Jamie. You seeing this? Board wants to discuss acquisition opportunities. Your insight would be valuable. I typed back, conference room in 30. In the Coastal Cargo headquarters, 9:17 a.m. The executive team looked like sharks who'd smelled blood in the water. Jamie stood at the head of the table, laser-pointer dancing across a projected list of Summit's remaining assets. 32 trucks in good condition, the Portland Distribution Center, and their cross-border permits, he said. All available for pennies on the dollar. Marcy Chun, our CFO, tapped her pen against the table. What about liabilities? Minimal, Jamie said. Their creditors are desperate to recoup anything. He turned to me. Jasper? You know their operations better than anyone. 12 faces swiveled in my direction. I set down my tablet. The real value isn't in the equipment, I said. It's in the people they're letting go today. I pulled up a list I'd prepared that morning. Mira Torres, best dispatch coordinator on the West Coast. Javier Ruiz, knows every back route from Seattle to San Diego. And these 4 warehouse managers. I tapped the screen. They can unstick a customs delay faster than any software. Jamie studied the names. You're suggesting we hire their talent. I'm suggesting we acquire their institutional knowledge, I said. The same knowledge Summit paid $2 million to erase. The board exchanged glances. Marcy smiled first. Let's make some offers. At the former Summit Line headquarters, 3:44 p.m. The lobby was a graveyard. Boxes piled by the security desk, empty cubicles visible through the glass walls. The familiar Summit logo already half removed from the reception wall. Owen stood by the elevators, arguing with a man in a suit, probably the bankruptcy trustee. He looked up as I entered, his face hardening. Come to gloat, Cooper? I shook my head. Here to make offers. His laugh was bitter. Coastal picking over the bones? Some of us value what you threw away. I handed him a folder. We're hiring, starting with Mira and the senior drivers. Owen flipped through the papers, his expression shifting from anger to something more complicated. You're offering them more than we paid. I know what they're worth. He closed the folder. For a moment, the arrogant MBA veneer cracked, revealing the scared kid who'd inherited a company he never understood. My father warned me, he said quietly. Told me this business runs on relationships, not spreadsheets. The elevator dinged. Rowan Walsh stepped out, cardboard box in arms. He froze when he saw me. Jasper. Rowan. An awkward silence. The bankruptcy consultant cleared his throat. Mr. Walsh? We need to discuss the... In a minute. Rowan set down his box. Up close, he looked exhausted. Eyes bloodshot, collar loose around his shrunken frame. Heard Coastal's poaching our staff. Recruiting, I corrected. There's a difference. Rowan studied me. The anger I expected never came. Instead, he reached into his box and pulled out a flash drive. Summit's client database. Every contact, preference, and pain point for the past decade. He held it out. Don't let it go to waste. Owen made a strangled noise. You can't just... They're gone either way, Rowan said, still looking at me. Might as well go where someone understands their value. I took the drive. No words needed. At the coastal cargo loading dock, 6:30 a.m., 1 year later. The morning shift buzzed with controlled chaos. Forklifts beeping, drivers joking by the coffee station, the scent of diesel and rain mixing in the crisp air. I stood by Bay 3, watching Javier Ruiz argue with the routing screen. "Stupid machine wants me to take the 405, he grumbled. "Doesn't know about the construction." I peered over his shoulder. "Manual override? Already done." He tapped the screen with a grease-stained finger. "But you know what's funny? Last week it learned my alternate route. Started suggesting it to other drivers." I raised an eyebrow. "You training the AI, Ruiz?" He grinned. "Nah, just reminding it who's boss." My phone buzzed, Jamie. Boardroom in 10. Big news. In the executive conference room, 7:02 a.m. The entire C-suite stood when I entered. Jamie beamed from the head of the table. Behind him, a screen displayed Coastal's Q3 results. Revenue up 62%, client retention at 98%, on-time deliveries at an all-time high. Marcy handed me a champagne flute. "To the man who proved humans aren't obsolete." The toast was nice. The real surprise came when Jamie slid an envelope across the table. Inside, stock options worth 7 figures and a new title, Chief Operations Officer. I stared at the papers. "This is too much." Jamie clapped my shoulder. "It's exactly what you're worth. And before you argue," he nodded to the window. Outside, the morning sun glinted off 40 freshly painted trucks rolling into the yard. Every one bore Coastal's logo, and a small, discreet, formerly Summit Line decal beneath it. "Acquisition finalized last night," Jamie said, "including all surviving personnel." He lowered his voice. "Even offered Owen a consulting role. Figured you'd approve." I looked at the trucks, at the drivers greeting old co-workers with backslaps and laughter, at mirror barking orders to a dispatch team that now spanned 2 companies' worth of experience. "One condition," I said. Jamie raised an eyebrow. "We keep the override function." His laughter followed me all the way to the elevators. At home, 8:47 p.m. Aliona found me on the back porch, staring at the stars. She handed me a beer and settled into the adjacent chair. "Kids asleep?" I asked. Finally, she nudged my foot with hers. "CO, huh?" I took a long pull from the bottle. "Guess I'm officially management now." She smiled. "Still can't believe you hired Owen." I watched a satellite drift across the sky. Best logistics mind Summit ever had. Just forgot that for a while. The silence stretched, comfortable. Somewhere in the house, one of the kids murmured in their sleep. Aliona's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. "Mira says the night shift just beat the delivery record." I nodded. Expected nothing less. She studied me. Not even a little bit satisfied. I thought about the spreadsheet I'd started a year ago, the one that now lived in Coastal's archives as a cautionary tale. Thought about Ruiz teaching the AI instead of being replaced by it. About Owen swallowing his pride to ask for a job. "Just grateful," I said finally. Aliona squeezed my hand. She knew what I meant. Inside, the notebook sat on my desk, now filled with fresh pages of Coastal's hard-won wisdom. Tomorrow, I'd add Ruiz's construction workaround. Tonight, I just listened to the crickets and the distant hum of trucks on the highway. The human algorithm, ever evolving. The bankruptcy notice hit the industry wires at 8:03 a.m. on a Tuesday. I stood in my kitchen, watching the news ticker scroll across the TV screen, while Aliona scrambled eggs. The reporter's voice was professionally somber as she detailed Summit Line Logistics Chapter 11 filing. Aliona turned off the burner. "You okay?" I sipped my coffee from my Coastal cargo mug. "Thinking about the drivers," I said, but my eyes drifted to the Disneyland brochure on the counter. Our family vacation, booked for next week. My first real time off in 14 years. My phone lit up with a text from Jamie. "Board wants to discuss Summit acquisition. Your insight needed." I typed back, "Conference room in 30. At the Coastal Cargo Control Center. 9:02 a.m. I took the long way through the expanded operations floor, past the wall of screens displaying real-time route optimizations alongside driver notes and client preferences. The human element Summit's software had dismissed. The week of my Disneyland departure, Coastal's control center hummed with quiet efficiency. Screens displayed optimized routes alongside handwritten driver notes. Ruiz's shortcut around Tacoma construction. Myra's preferred loading bay for Pacific Fresh's delicate shipments. The human touches our system, now preserved like artifacts. Mira intercepted me with a tablet. Pacific Fresh just upped their Q3 forecast. 15% increase. Make sure Ruiz knows about their valve pressure issue, I said, scanning the shipment schedule. He's handling their account while I'm gone next week. Make sure the new team knows about their dock manager's lunch break, I said, scanning the schedule. And remind Pacific Fresh we'll need extra cold storage for. She rolled her eyes. James has handled 12 flawless shipments since you trained him. You're going to enjoy your vacation, I promise you. Then she smirked. Still can't believe you're actually taking a vacation. Neither can I. The irony wasn't lost on me. Getting fired had led to better pay, a better position, and finally, a life where I could unplug without the world burning down, peace of mind. In the executive conference room, 9:17 a.m., Jamie stood before a projected list of Summit's assets. 32 trucks, Portland Distribution Center, and their cross-border permits. He turned to me. Jasper? I set my tablet down. The real value is in the people they're cutting today. I pulled up my list. These 4 warehouse managers. I tapped the screen. They're why Summit lasted as long as it did after firing me. Marcy Chun, our CFO, studied the names. You're suggesting we hire them? I'm suggesting we invest in what Summit threw away. The board approved the plan in under 10 minutes. In the former Summit headquarters, 3:44 p.m. The lobby was a graveyard of packed boxes and half-removed logos. Owen Walsh stood by the elevators, shoulders hunched as he argued with a bankruptcy trustee. Hope you're not here to gloat, he said quietly when he saw me. I handed him a folder. We're also hiring your people. Starting with these. He flipped through the offers, each salary 20% above Summit's rates. His hands shook. My father warned me, he said quietly. Said this business runs on trust, not spreadsheets. The elevator dinged. Rowan stepped out, carrying a cardboard box. He froze when he saw me. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. Then he reached into his box. Take this, he said, handing me a flash drive. Summit's entire client database. Every preference, every workaround. Better it goes to someone who'll use it right. The drive felt heavy in my hand. No words needed. That's my story. Some will say I took it too far, that I should have let Summit fail quietly. While some will say I should have helped them for the $5,000 a week consulting fee. But for me, when a company values algorithms over the people who built it, that's not progress. That's betrayal. I chose to protect the drivers, the clients, the ones who still believe work should mean something. So tell me, would you have walked away? Or would you, like me, have fought to rebuild what they tried to erase? Comment where you're watching from. Like and subscribe. And remember, they called me obsolete, until they learn the hard way that some things can't be automated.